The Intel Surface Pros finally got the redesign they deserved. It looks just like the ARM-based Surface Pro X with the larger display and thinner bezels, but still has the more powerful Intel processors, which can be spec'd all the way up to an i7 with 32 gigs of RAM. This display is much nicer. It's around 1 inch larger than the Surface Pro 7's display, and the thinner bezels make the whole device look more modern. I kinda like the look of the slightly larger top and bottom bezels. The bottom bezel is covered when using the type cover in this angled position anyway, and the top leaves enough room for the front-facing 5 megapixel camera. There's also a 10 megapixel camera on the back capable of 4K. You also now get a 120Hz refresh rate on this display. I appreciate this update. It makes general use feel faster and snappier, and when scrolling, you can still read the text without it turning into a blur. You can of course change the refresh rate in the settings, so I'm curious to see how big of an impact it will make on battery life. I'll be testing it in both 60 and 120Hz to see how much more battery life I can get with that lower rate. Which Microsoft is claiming 16 hours of battery life, but their tests are with the screen brightness at 150 nits, and it also includes standby time. So we will see what the real active use battery life is over the course of the next week or so. On the left, you have the volume rocker and headphone jack. On either side of the display, there are two 2-watt speakers, which from the bit I've used so far actually sound pretty decent. And on the right, the power button, a Surface Connect port, and 2 USB-C Thunderbolt 4 ports, which will support an eGPU. If you don't know what that is, that means you can connect the Surface to an external GPU enclosure, which can house a desktop graphics card, giving this device access to desktop graphics performance for professional apps and gaming. The idea of having an ultra-portable laptop/tablet hybrid device during the day for work, then with a single cable be used for desktop-level gaming at night is very exciting. I have an eGPU arriving tomorrow, and I'll be testing this base Surface with a 3080 graphics card in my full review, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. I'll be testing the thermals and performance in comparison to my desktop. And also, let me know what you want to see in the full review down in the comments below. I have the base model with an i5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gig SSD. Of course, when it comes to the gaming side of things, 16 gigs would have been better, but I'm still curious how well games will run on this base model. And the specs are more than enough for what I need out of a laptop in this form factor for productivity tasks. This base model starts at $1,100. They still don't include the type cover or Surface Pen, which is frustrating, but I do really like the typing experience on this type cover so far. Key travel is great, and there's this springy feedback the cover gives in this angled position, which I find to be very comfortable. There's also a spot for the Surface Pen 2, which is also not included. It will magnetically attach and charge in this convenient storage tray, but it will run you an additional $100. These new Surfaces also come with Windows 11 pre-installed. This is actually my first time using Windows 11, and so far, I think the new UI looks really good and makes navigating the OS on a tablet a little bit easier. I'll see how I feel after around a week of use with this device and the Surface Laptop Studio. I have a first impressions video on that coming up next.